Hello, Tamara here. Happy New Year. Nice of you to join me on this video. This is going to be a little bit different for me. As you know, or you may not know, I've taken a job with Lisa Horton. She brings out her brand new brand in the next 5 days or so. It goes on air on Create and Craft on Monday the 20th of January at 11 o'clock. I think. Could be later. I'll put it, if it's in a different, I'll put it on the links down here somewhere. But what I'm going to do today is what Lisa's brought out is this fantastic bookcase that you put together, and it's got some memory books inside, so it's right up my street. So I haven't got any of the fancy packaging with mine. Mine is, here's the MDF, go away and put it together. So we don't get any instructions, unlike you will definitely get instructions. Look, I've even got my, I've still got my Christmas pyjamas on. Got to keep the spirit alive. So what I thought I'd do is just go through with you, or even just make it up on the video, so you can see how it's made. Right, hold on just a second. That was really loud. I do apologise. Let's turn that down. So in your kit you will get these pieces here, like so. So I hope you can see that just about. Oh, before I start this, I've got this messy mat down on my desk here, and it's got a sticky back. So what it does is it's not, when I say sticky, it's not super sticky, but it's like a non-stick slippy. And I said to Lisa about seeing if she could source any of them, because when you're filming, if you've got like a messy mat down, it tends to move. So I said, can you find something that is like a non-stick on the, or non-slip on the back? And by Jove, she did it. She found them. So this is a non-slip stick mat. So I've been able to use it onto my table, so that when I'm doing my messy bits and things, it's not sliding everywhere. Like, see, I'm pushing it and it's not moving at all. Whereas as your traditional craft mat would be slipping, or you would have to tape it down. This you don't. It is marvellous. So I'm really pleased. I'm very precious of this. I keep stroking it. So anyway, back to what I was doing. So we've got our bookcase. Okay, I've put one together just so that you can see how it all fits together. I'm hoping you can see that. It's a bit strange doing it this way, but as you can see, it's just like a little bookcase. Oh, so this in here is where you're going to put your books in there that make up, and you get I think you get 5 in the pack. So I think you can fit 5 in, or if you've got bigger books you can put 3 in, which is brilliant. So but again, I will double check on that, and I will put the exactly what you get in the kit on a little tagline somewhere in there. So that's the little bookcase. So to put that together, I'm not going to put this one together though, because I want to do something else with this one. But just to show you so that you get the gist of it. So in your kit, you'll get a piece that says base, one that's got holes on 3 sides, 2 pieces that have got a straight edge and then your notches out, and then you'll get this piece here which has got like finger holes out of. This is your top piece here. This is the top one. Now where it says base, me being me thought, that's got to go on the base. doesn't mean that at all. What it means is this one is your base that you work from. So you stick everything to this first. So what we do is, yours will probably come without the cut marks in, but if they do, if you've still got them in, all you have to do is just click them out and they come out. It's just that if Danny was to spend time, you know, trying to get every single piece of the cut out, he would be here forever and a day. So sometimes they have them in, sometimes they don't, but as you can see, they click out and there's no damage at all to your MDF. Now this is really good, sturdy, good quality MDF that you can throw anything at. So you know, don't be afraid. And it smells delicious, it really does. So we're going to work with this. So this is our base plate that we work from. So it says on this one, it says base. Okay, what I did is I put it this way so that the base bit was on the bottom, but then I turned it round so that the base, this writing, was on the back, so that you're not going to see it. I mean, you won't see it anyway, to be fair. If I put that all together, you wouldn't see it. You would just see a tiny bit of the words coming out. I mean, you probably can't even see it on the camera there. So I just turned that round because I didn't want to see that. So you put your, this is how I did it. I put this back piece on, and then I worked round it. So then I came and I did the sides. So they just slot in quite easily. You might just have to give a little bit of a wiggle to get them in, but they will go in eventually. I might just take that one out and stick that one in there like so. There we go. So then that's sort of in like that. You would put your glue along these bits here, okay, along the bottom, and then that would, you don't need an awful lot. I will say I'm using Cosmic Shimmer. For me personally, I love Cosmic Shimmer. It's one of my favourite glues. I have different glues that do different jobs, so this one is the best that I like to use for my memory books and for like construction of your MDF. So what I tend to do is I don't, sometimes people do a line. You don't need that much. I just do dots like so, and then that then is enough. Then you won't get an awful lot of the like overspill of your glue where you've put too much on. So you can see those dots there as I took it out. Oh, there we go. Yours won't, it's just that I haven't got mine stuck down. So then I put the last bit on. So this is the other side. Again, just give it a little bit of a wiggle room to get it in, and eventually it will go. There we go. And it's just like, it's just that it's so precise that just takes a little bit of time, care. And then you will put your top bit on, and remember you will have it will be glued, so mine might fall apart as I open it up, but then you get the gist. That's how quick and easy it is. What, 2 minutes? Not even that. You constructing it. So then that's your bookcase done. Now what I thought was a really good idea that I'm going to do, I'm going to get myself another couple of these so that I can stack them on top of each other. So I'm going to stack mine so that the holes, the finger holes, line up like so. So that then you'll end up with a nice array of bookcases where you can store all your photos, everything. It's an ingenious idea, it really is, and I wish I'd have thought of it. But anyway, so that's how you make the box up. Now, this was the one. So I'm just going to take the one that I made up and didn't glue apart. And then I'm going to put that to one side. Now, as I said, you can fit 5 books in here. Now, the books, they come already cut. They're MDF, which is fantastic. You can again throw anything at this. This is it's not MDF, beg your pardon. This is your grey board or mount board, as some people call it, and it's an A6 size, so that's a really good size for if you have got a sprocket printer, or you do the Insta photos where you print off your Instagram photographs. This is the perfect size for those, because it's nice and small and compact, and you know, you can have them all lined up. You could have them, you know, maybe months of the year. You could maybe have, you know, have a year, photographs from a year in your book. So there's lots and lots of possibilities you could use. So that's the box and the books. Oh, on the spines of the books, I forgot to mention, you can either use it, very ingenious this way, you can either use it as I would do a traditional memory book with the hinges and make your hinges up with it, or you could use like a junk journal, how you would make a junk journal up with the holes so that you can use signatures. Now, if you don't know what a signature is a group of papers that are in the book and they are together. So if you folded, hold on, I'll show you. Now, this is a junk journal that I've started, but again, it's not very full, but it gives you the gist of what you do. So this here would be a signature, okay? So it's a group of papers that are either stitched or they're fastened together. So in this signature, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 pieces of paper, so that gives me 8 pages in that one signature, and I've got 4 signatures in this book. Okay, so you could do it, you could use it that way, or you could use it the traditional way where you would make up your hinge, as I would do if you've followed my videos. But we're not going to do, we're going to come on to the memory book in a bit, and I'm going to probably stop talking in a minute, and I might just fast forward this because I'm going to paint my MDF. Now, stop. If you get this, please do not paint before you've put it together, because this is MDF, it's very absorbent. So if you paint it beforehand, what will happen is the notches will all swell, and you will find it very difficult to get them into the holes. So that's why we say to assemble it first and then paint it afterwards. It's sometimes in a pain, because if you've got very small pieces to paint that inside, it can make it a bit time consuming. But what I do for that is I use a sponge, and I can then get into all the nooks and the crannies and things like that. So I'm going to paint my box on the inside. I'm not sure what colour I'm going to go for yet, but I'm going to come off, and then when I come back I would have chosen. Okay, I've actually gone with black. I thought that would be quite nice for it being dark inside, and then it hopefully make my books pop. That's what I've got in my head anyway. So I've got some gesso primer, which is black acrylic, which will be brilliant for this job, and it is from Cosmic Shimmer. So I've just given it a shake just to shake the paint up a bit. It's quite full. You get quite a nice colour in there. You can see how pretty it is. I've got a bubble. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and paint, and I'll fast forward to see you. does dry super quick, so what I'm doing is I'm just trying to brush out my brush marks, if that makes sense, and just to get it all in the, make sure I've got it all in the corners. Now what you may also want to do is maybe paint this part here at the bottom. Sorry, you can't see that. So this part here, so the lip, you maybe want to paint that all the way round as well before you put your papers on. If you're going to paper it like I am. Okay, make sure you paint your edges here as well, so that unless you want them brown, it's entirely up to you. I want mine all to be black, so that's what I'm going to do. So that's brilliant. That I think is covered. I'm just going to get the heat gun on that just to give it a quick blast, and then what I'm going to do is I may give it a second coat. I'll see what it looks like. Right, I'm going to actually give this a second coat. Right, so that's my box painted on the inside. Now I'm really sorry you won't be able to, because it's black, you're not going to be able to see it that well, so I do apologise for that, but I really wanted to get that black on there. So I'm going to set this aside to dry. I'm going to tidy up my space, and then we will go on to the next bit. See, so that's nice and clean now, ready for me to, I didn't want to put my papers on there and then find that they were all they're covered in black paint. Now I'm going to use, I've been dying to use this paper pad. I've had this for a few months now, over a year I think, so I've been dying to use it, so this project is brilliant for this. So I'm going to use my very special Graphic 45 papers. Love it. And the papers we're using is Imagine. Okay. You can get Graphic 45 papers on Create and Craft. So check out their website. I'm not sure if they got this one on there, but I know that they stock Graphic 45, and more comes in. Will be coming in, I would presume, in the next year or so. So let's pick. Now this is going to take forever to pick which ones we're going to use now. Oh, I hate doing that. Even on TV. Sorry, I should have emptied that earlier. Okay, so I've got stickers in with this as well, which was going to work brilliantly with the outside of my memory books that we're going to use. So what papers do we pick? Decisions. I think that's the hardest any one thing people find. I've got tons of it. If you could see behind me, well, you have seen because you've seen my craft room, but behind I've just got tons and tons of paper that I really should use. I've just spotted I've also got this one. I could have used that. No, we'll stick with this, and then I can do that on another project. Nope, shouldn't have seen that. Okay, so let's go. Let's pick now. It's just going to be the top and the two sides. So, oh, that's nice. Two though. Oh, I like that. No, not for the sides. Let's have a look. No. Oh. I think we may have to go. Oh, that's nice too. So butterflies. So we could choose that one. That one would look quite nice. And I don't want the stripes. Oh, Stephen, that's nice. Dear me. Right, I've picked my paper, and so what I need to do is work out where what I'm going to do. So I've kind of picked these two papers. So I'm going to have this lovely one with all the hot air balloons. I'm going to have that on the side, and then I'm going to have this paper on the top. I think, sorry, on the top this way. That's what I mean. So I'm going to have that on the top. I think that would look really good with that. I mean, I could do the same. Decisions. Have it all the same. Yeah, I think I might have it all the same. Oh, I can never make a decision. Right, so with the top, because we've got these holes out, I may need to get the file out and file them in. So this is as new to me as it is to you. I've never put one of these together, so this is really on the job learning. So I use Mod Podge. Although I've still got some deco glue there, but I like Mod Podge. I tend to be able to get a really nice firm stick with that. So let's start. So I'm going to put my Mod Podge onto my MDF. Okay. And I'm going to do the top first, obviously. So get it. You need to make sure you put it on all of the MDF. The reason being is you don't want to have any air bubbles in there, because that's when the paper starts to lift, and then then you can't get it right, because then it's like you have to rip the paper off and it's not pretty. Speaking of somebody from experience. So let's have a go. So I'm just going to position this on. Now I would also sometimes I forgot what I was going to say then. I would Mod Podge the paper as well, so it's wet on wet. It tends to stick a lot better. So what I'm doing is I'm just trying to get it stuck on, and then I'm finding out where the edges are, and I'm just folding those edges over so that when we come to cut it, it won't be as hard to find where the edges are. Okay, now you might get a little bit of lift where the Mod Podge hasn't stuck, and what you need to do is just find those areas and just add that little bit more of glue. Okay, and then you should find it will stick. Now if you're good with a knife, you could maybe use a craft knife to cut this off. I'm not, so hence why I'm using the scissors. And I'm just cutting just slightly bigger than what the box is. Now, there's a method to my madness in that, but that all will become clear in a moment. So now we've got with these parts here that we've then papered over, our little eye holes. So what I thought we might do is snip into them. I'm hoping this is right. Please work. Right, I'm going to snip into them like so. And snip into them again and again, just to create like sort of tassels really. I don't know if this is going to work, but we'll give it a go. So now I need to find 1 second, I think my daughter's had them. Oh, I really need to fix my drawer as well, it's well broken. Oh, and this one, I've got so much stuff in it. Okay, so it's not in this, it must be in this top one. Right, bear with. Right, I'm back now. So what I've done is I've just got some nail files. I don't know if this is going to work. These aluminium nail files might be too big, but I'm just going to start to file away at the paper, and hopefully, if this works, the paper should start to break away. Right, just have to be a little bit gentle and have a little bit of patience, and it will work. This way you'll end up with a really nice finish. Here I'm just going to switch to a bigger sanding block than my nail file, and this should get that all off. Okay, so that's then the top done. So what then I'm going to do is I will now ink my edges with some Distress inks. Now I'm going to go with, I might just have a quick sweep up, get rid of all this dirt. I might go with the Ground Espresso. That is my favourite, I have to say, but I don't know if I need a bit of not walnuts, maybe some, I don't know, maybe some Vintage Photo, because that's quite nice and that's a nice vintage colour. Or I could go with Walnut Stain, that's another of my favourites, that's sort of a darker brown. Right, I'm going to go with my favourite. I'm going to stick with what I know best. So, just get out my inking, my blending tool. Okay, right, so I'm going to just ink the edges. I want to give it this quite a worn look. So and then I might go in with another colour just to maybe a black, just to give it that shadow effect. So as this is my top, it depends really. If you're planning on buying more than one and you plan to do like what I've said and make up like a library of bookcases, then I wouldn't do too much to the top. So because obviously if you're going to stick them on top of each other, then there's no point, because it's not going to be seen. As you see, if I stick that one on there, it's not going to be seen. So you know, you would get away with doing it just on the one, say if this is the top of your stack. But I think that would look really nice. You could have maybe 4 or 5 on top of each other, and they could be stacked on the floor, you know, if you're short of shelf space or work surface. You could stack them that way and put some feet on them. I'm going to put some little feet on these ones and see what that looks like. So I've given that quite a nice worn look. Probably just add a little bit more. I like it quite dark on the edges, like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go on over. This is just a smoothie, and there's nothing on this smoothie. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to blend out those, if I've got any harsh lines. So I'm just going to blend that out so that it doesn't look so stark against it. But I don't know if you can see that there. I'm hoping it's coming out on camera enough. So that's my brown espresso. Then I'm going to go in with some walnut stain, and that I'm just going to put on the edges, and then hopefully this is going to just add a little bit more of a shadow, because it's a bit of a darker colour. And especially around the corners. There we go. Like so. And then what you do is you do that all the way around. Okay. So I'm going to get on and do that, and then hopefully when we come back I will have it all decorated, ready for the next part of what we're going to do. Okay, I've actually carried on with my box, but I forgot to press record. So I'm talking away quite merrily, and when I look up, 20 minutes had passed and I'd literally done the box. So I'm just going to go through what I've done so that you can then maybe do it yourself if you want to. So I used the paper to paper the top and the 2 sides. Now I will also do the back, but I'm going to do that later. I wanted to just get this bit done. So I could actually show you what I've done on this back part. Right, what I'm going to do now is I went ahead and decorated all of my box and used the crackle effect that I've used on it. So I'm going to show you how I did that. So I've done that all over the box. So I'm going to show you how we did it on the back. Now the products I'm using are Pentart. I absolutely love this crackle. It is heat settable as well. It will take a little while to heat set it, but you can heat set it. You just need to use a lower setting on your heat tool so that you don't create the bubbles, but it works brilliantly. So it's a two-part. So you paint on the first, your part 1, component 1, all over, and then you use a palette knife to palette knife on all the crackle. Now this one is an old one, so it's gone a little bit hard, but no, it's actually okay inside. It's just around the edges there. Let me take that bit off, and then we can start. So that's what I used, and then to create the aged effect in the crackles, I used something else as well from Pentart, and it's a liquid patina. It's quite strong smelling. I don't mind smells. That's how I tend to see things in this smell. But it's like it's a solvent, but it's very, very strong smelling. But the smell does fade after time. But because it's liquid, you can create the most beautiful definition of the cracks in your paste. So I'll fast forward this bit because you've already seen me how I painted, did the paper on the back, and then we'll get on and use the other bits. The other thing I should have said I used is the Mod Podge, the matte, and this is water-based sealer, a glue and a finish, so you can use this. It's like an all-rounder, but I tend to find this sticks my paper to MDF brilliantly. So somewhere here I have a really horrid glue brush, which is in my... Okay, so let's start. Okay, now get a nice lot, a good coverage of your glue, and then just place your paper over the top, and you have got a little tiny bit of wiggle room with this, but not a lot, so you will have to be quick. So again, just burnish it down. Just use this. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just trim around, so I haven't got too much to sort of file off. I mean, you could have cut this to size. I didn't think that far ahead. So, like so. You might find that the corners will lift. Just put an extra bit more glue on. Okay, now I need to find the sander. I found the stencil that I use. Now this one is one of the new stencils from Lisa Horton. She's bringing you loads of beautiful stuff coming out in the very near future, so please tune in to Create and Craft when she's on and check her out. But this is one of the new stencils that I'm going to use. Now what I did is I used all of it on sort of the back. You could use parts, you could just use an area and maybe not create so much crackle, but I just love the effect of the crackle through the paper, with the paper showing through. And I even love this where my patina had seeped in too much and it's just created some really dark patches. Now I really like that, because to me that gives you that really nice weathered grunge type of look. So with our back, now what I'm going to do with the back is I will probably have to do it in stages, because I might not have to, I might be able to do it normally. Let's have a go first before I decide. Okay, so you need a brush to brush your first part on. Now I need a brush. You can do it one or two ways. You can brush your one part over your stencil and do it that way. The only way I found with that is you would end up with like a little pool around where your stencil was. So I'm just going to brush it on very thinly all over the back. Okay, and it doesn't have to be thick. The thinner the better, because with this crackle, with this two-part crackle, it's just a binding agent. So it helps bind your crackle to your substrate, so that it doesn't flake off. You can get one part ones. I think it's all included. It's sort of all, it's an all-rounder. It's sort of all incorporated in the product. I just prefer to do this two-part one, but not saying somebody else might, another company might bring one out that you know, dries quick, because that's my thing. I hate anything that I've got to wait for it to dry. I'm not that patient when it comes to waiting for things. I like to be able to get on to the next stage. Okay, so I've kind of put all of that on. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to speed this process up, and I'm going to I'll heat set the part, and then we'll go ahead and put the stencil on with the gel, the transparent gel. But then what I'll do is I will then put it to one side and leave it possibly overnight, just to get the cracks, and then we can get on with the rest of our book. Right, so I'm going to heat set it. I just wanted to show you something, because you can tell when it's dry, it's drying, because if you can see, it's gone kind of cloudy. The glue's gone cloudy on. You can just see that little bit of a cloud of the glue here. When you dry it, that will go clear, so it will go so you wouldn't be able, it'd be like transparent, so you won't be able to see it. But I just wanted to show you that. You may be able to see it on camera, but here you go, let's have a go. Okay, now that is a little bit, that's dry. It's still a tiny bit tacky, but that's fine. That's fine. You don't want it completely dry. You want it just that part where it's going to be bone dry to a little bit tacky. So that's fine for me. You can hear the little tiny bits of the stick. So I'm going to keep this directional, because that's I've kind of got all of my stencils coming this way. So I'm just going to move that across because I don't like to have I like to have a little bit hanging over. But with these stencils are really good because you can have them like that, and that just looks just as good. So with the transparent, the gel, you'll need a palette knife. Now I've got some here. Nope, maybe not that one. Now, okay, so this may be a very old one, which I think it is. Hold on, let me see if I can get, I have got a new one. Okay, here's my new one. Dear me. Okay, so let's take that off. Now I'm going to try and reactivate this by spraying in some water and seeing if I can reactivate this old gel. It's like any product. If you don't use it, you lose it. So this one is quite an old one. This is probably about 2 or 3 years old. So that's possibly why it's dried up a bit, but let's see if we can reactivate it. It may work, it may not. Well, if you don't try, you never know. So I'm going to leave that in there like that overnight and see if that does anything. Okay, but this one is nice and smooth. As you can see, it's like very glossy. It's like a bit like meringue, where it's quite nice and fluffy. So you need quite a bit on. Again, it depends on how big your cracks you want. The thicker you put it on, the bigger your cracks. The thinner you put it on, obviously then the thinner they're going to be. So I tend to just scrape it over. I'm not worrying if I'm going to miss parts of my stencil, because that is the nature that I want to create. And I may not even go over all of it. I think what I may do, just for the purpose of this video, now actually let's go all the way over it. Lisa and Danny's stencils are some of the best stencils in the business. They only use top quality mylar to create their stencils, and so they're really thick. So you don't tend to get a lot of underspill, if you understand what I mean. And one like under seepage, should I say, under your stencil, because they are quite thick. They're lovely to use, I have to say. So we're just gonna finish the back bit, and then we will put this aside, and then hopefully tomorrow, or in a bit further down in the video, we'll put the liquid patina on. Now if you haven't got liquid patina, you could use oil paint, or that's what I tend to sometimes use, oil paint to go inside my cracks. You could use distress inks, that works just as well. So really it's what you have to hand. So let me take that off now. Okay, there we go. I don't mind this little bit here that's messed up because I like that there. I may just even it up and maybe take off a little bit of something there just so that it evens it up a little bit. Right, I'm just going to go and clean my stencil because you have to with this, because it's a gel, it will dry hard. So I've got some biodegradable baby wipes that I tend to use one over and over again, and just for quickness and the purpose of this, it just gets it clean quick. And then I'll put that over there and get my cloth out and just... Now you could put these into a washing up bowl and just leave them to soak, and that works just as good, but I haven't got time to go and do that, so I'm going to put that to one side. But just so that you get the idea with the crackle and how we end up with the patina in the cracks. Now, as I said, it's a liquid, so it will go on pretty thick. So what I tend to do is I just get some onto my brush and then I brush it on. And again, it doesn't matter how much you put on. The more obviously you put on, the darker your project is going to become. So I've just done that bit there. So what now I'm going to do is I'm going to take another baby wipe, and if they're very wet, just give them a wring out, so because you don't want these to be soaking, and then you just wipe off the excess like so, and then that way you're going to just be left with the patina in the cracks of the product that you've put on. But then that also wipes away the projects from inside the stencil. So where you haven't got your pattern, it's been the mask, you tend to get your paper back. If you don't have to do this, you can leave it as dark as you like and it will just seep in, but I just wanted to see, I like to see the paper sort of coming through. So that then is how you do your crackle. Right, so I'm going with the thicker spine because you get a thinner spine as well, so you can add 5 books or 3 books in here depending on how thick you make your books with embellishments on the outside. Now I may get 3 in here, I may get 2 and a small one. I'm going to gauge what I put next on the next album. So I'm going to do the thicker spine again, using my craft card. So how I measure, so with my craft card, because I'm not going to have enough to get one whole book out of one piece of card, I need to stick these together. So we're going to work, so I'm going to have this darker colour as my front colour, because if you can see, I don't know if you can see on there, there's the craft card, it's two-tonal. So you've got one colour which is like this nice yellowy brown on one side, and then you've got like I don't know, like a peachy type of matte brown on the other. I actually like this one here, so I'm going to use that as my the front of my card. So what we need to do is we need to put some tape down our spine, down our piece of paper. Now what I'm going to do is, first of all, I want to just put along the bottom, along the side, a 1 inch border. And it all will come clear in a moment. So I'm just using my Tim Holtz one, so I'm just going to give it a 1 inch along there, and then a 1 inch along this side. All will come clear in a minute. Okay, and then I've done that wrong. Okay, never mind. Okay, what I've done is I've actually penciled on the wrong side, so I'm going to just take that one away. Let's turn them over, that one. So we want to work on this side. So you work on the back side, not on the side that you are going to have showing tomorrow. Get with the program. Okay, so 1 inch, and then 1 inch along the bottom, like so. Now this 1 inch here, we're going to put some tape along. So I've got, I did have some score tape, but I don't know where it's gone, so I'm just going to use my red liner, and this is just as good. Get my scissors, just cut that bit off, and again along there. Okay, so just take that red liner off. I'm sorry I went quiet there for a moment. I don't know why, I'm normally very chatty. Okay. So, what I've done is I've used that inch line as my guide, and then I've butted the paper up to that. Now, I'm going to then carry along this line. So I've got my 1 inch that goes across all of the paper. Like so. Like so. And then down this one's, no, we're not going to do that side. So as long as you've done the bottom, that's fine. We can then line it up against that. But what we need to do is we need to make this line here, which is on the back of our, this will be the front of our books. So this line here is going to be the centre, so we need to place that in the centre of our spine. Maybe you can't see that, I'm sorry. So let me just hold it up, hopefully. There. It's just there, look, can you see that's the edge of the paper. So I'm just going to turn it over. So we can't use this edge, because if we use this edge as our centre, the one underneath is not going to be. So what we can do, just to give ourselves a guide, is just to maybe mark our 1 inch again, so that we'll know that basically there is going to be the centre of our book. Okay, so like so. think that's about right. I'll just double check. Yes. Okay. So I've only done that lightly, but you're not going to see it because that's going to be covered anyway. So we know that that is the centre. So what we need to do is we are going to place it on the bottom here, and we're going to line this line up with the centre of our holes here. Okay, so as much as you can, and then we'll work outwards. So how I attach my grey board. Now I use a strip of double-sided and some glue. Okay. Okay, I've just taken the strip off my double-sided, and then I'm just going to add some glue. You'd want quite a bit of glue if you can, because this is obviously going to take a lot of battering, so it needs to be able to stick in place. Okay, just get that hole out. Okay, it doesn't stick, it's just a bit of grey board that's does not come out. Off you come. There we go. And then we just need to line it up. As I say, try and get it in the centre of that line. So check that it's the centre of the hole that is there. There we go. And the same at the top. I'm sorry, you're going to have to put my head in front of there now, just so that I can get it lined up. I can't seem to find the hole there. There we go. Down. That's about it. Take just a little bit of wiggle room just to get it where I want it. There we go. And again there. There we go. So, and then just burnish down, and then that should stick nicely. Okay. Okay. Right, now onto the covers. Now this measures 6 inches by 4, so it's a nice size. So it's an A6 sized album, which is just it's nice if you're starting out with making memory books and you want to make them this way. This is the ideal size because it's not overly big. It's not your 12 by 12, which can be daunting for new crafters. So this is just a lovely size just to try it out. Now I need to just find, right, I'm just going to use the other two of the pieces of album covers that come in the kit. And I'm just going to use this as a spacer. So I want it to be my spacer in between my spine and my covers. Now this may be a bit big, so I might go down to just one actually. Let's see. Yeah, let's try one. So I'm going to go down with one. So that's my spacer. So that gives me the space in between my spine and my covers. Again, just double-sided tape down one side and then cut off, and then we're just going to put our glue on. Okay, and just take the double-sided tape off. Like so, and then get it so that we can position it in place. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to just leave a gap so I can see. I say leave a gap because this fits the length. all the way. I'm just going to position my board, I'll do it that way then you can see, so that I can see the top of the top of my album here, so that I know that I'm going to get them in line. And then you just need to push against your spacer, make sure you get it on that line and that it's in place, and then we can stick it down like so. Okay, and then burnish to make sure it's stuck. And then we do the same to the other side. So again, double-sided tape. And cut it off. And okay, don't forget your glue. I nearly stuck it down without the glue. That would have been a disaster. Okay, and again, just use your one of the other album covers as a guide and push against them so that they're nice and stuck. And I think that needs to come up a bit. Oh, good job I didn't burnish that down, because I kind of need that to come off. Oh, okay, so let me just take this bit off. Okay, it won't, this bit won't matter. It happens, these things happen. So just remember to just double check first of all before you do what I did and stick it down, because it wasn't level. And if it's not level, what's going to happen is when you come to fold your extra pieces of card over to finish off the edges, you'll end up with like a little nick. So it will be like, it won't be a smooth run along the top or the bottom of your album. Okay, so more glue the second time. Again, just place it so that you can get a nice, there we go, and then burnish down. Okay, so that's brilliant. So we've got them stuck down, so what I'm going to do now, just move them out the way, in there, is again I'm going to just use my ruler, and again I'm just going to measure 1 inch, so going from the top of our board, from the top here of our memory book, all the way across, and then that hopefully will give me a nice, and along this side here as well. Okay, and then down here, and then we're going to just cut them off using our scissors. Okay, that saves a lot of measuring, etc, etc. Just get my scissors, and then we're going to cut this out. Don't worry if you're not precise, because you will be covering it anyway. And that then so far is our album cover. Now I've got these little nifty tools here, and this is going to give me a lovely straight finished edge to my corners. Okay, and because I'm using 2mm grey board, this is a 2mm, I suppose they call it there, I can't remember what they're called actually, corner jig I think, I'm not too sure what these are called. I have used them on my videos before. These are from iBooks, and they're an Etsy store, and they come in different sizes, so you've got 2mm, 1.5mm, 3mm ones as well, and it goes on your grey board, so whatever size your grey board or mount board is, use that corresponding page jig. So I've cut my edges off, so they're sort of, it looks a little bit like a, I don't know, boat, you could say. Now what I'm going to do is, before I start to fold them over, I'm going to add our double-sided tape. Now I add tape to the top, like so, and then to this side, like so, and all the way round, and then I also go onto the grey board as well, and then that helps stick it as well, so it's not so it's that double stuck. Okay. Now the only place I may not put it is onto our spine here, because I don't want to cover them holes up. But we're going to do something different with those. I'll show you what we're going to do with them to help hide the hinges. Okay, so instead of making up a hinge in card, I'm going to use some construction tape. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to put it along, so where you've got your join, I'm just going to put it along there. Don't try and don't cover your holes up. Okay, it's important that you put this on before you glue your edges together, because otherwise you'll be seeing the edges, and you don't want that. So when I say the edges, you'll be seeing the ends of your construction tape, and we want it to look a bit more neat and professional. You'll get what I mean in a minute. So that's one, and take that one off too. And I've just noticed I've forgotten to put an extra one on here. Do that now, quick. Okay, and then if I just take that bit off, then I can just put my construction tape on top of that. So, there we go. This one might be too short. Yes. Yeah, just push that up a bit so I can get it nice and firm. like so, and that then covers up those sort of gaps there. So go ahead and take off all your double-sided tape along the edges. I'm hoping you can see this. I'm just rambling on and I'm not really looking about what I'm doing. I've forgotten another piece there. Right. Okay, take that off, and I might as well go around and take them all off. Okay, one, no, I've got two more. One, two. Okay, then what I do is I tend to stand it up and I kind of bend my card over the lip of the grey board, and I just give it a wiggle, and that way I'm creating that natural crease in the card that's hopefully going to give me a lovely nice finish, if I've done my job correctly, that is. So that's sort of stuck down, which is good, which I want. And then you do the other side. So you do the one side and then you do the other. You can do the two short sides, but I would stick to doing two, not do it as you go round, otherwise you end up, you don't get a uniformity, if that's a word. So let's just fold that over and then stick it down like so. And again with these edges, the smaller sides, just give it a little wiggle and then stick them down. And as you can see, I've got that lovely neat equal finish using those page jigs. Again, just do this side, and again you've got a nice level. It just makes it so much more neater. So I'm just going to use them a bone folder, and I'm just going to go around the corners just to round those corners off so they're not so pointy. So just round them off. Okay. Right, now we need to create our fold so that we can actually get our book. So I use my ruler and I go half and half from where the gap is in there, and I just then fold up. I just kind of try and I just kind of ease it up so that you create that nice fold. Again in this side, and you just create that nice fold. Okay, just give it a little wiggle, and then that. Try not to do it too much, otherwise you may split your card. Okay, so a little more of a wiggle, and then that's then our the outside covers done of our book. And as you can see, where I've got my spine, the join of the paper is now in the middle of my spine, so it's not sort of on the edge or anything, so it makes your books look a lot more professional. Alright, I'm going to ink these edges, but first what I should have done, which I forgot to do, is add my holes. So I've actually now got to try and figure out where my holes are. So I'm just going to use this extra one and hope that I've actually got them in the right place. So let's have a look. Hopefully I have. Yes, luckily. So that's 1, 2, that was lucky. So before I'll put something on the video, before we put the 2 layers on, we need to make sure we've punched out the holes. That's if you're doing it this way. If you're not doing it this way and you're using the traditional method of a hinge where you make them up, then you won't obviously need to put the holes in. But I just thought it would be different. So push that through, and then one more, and then then we've got our holes. There we go, like that. And then what I will do is I will then add the some more craft card in there just to hide those pieces, and then we can sort of decorate. But I am going to use our distress inks and just distress all the edges. Okay, what I've done is I've gone ahead and made 2 of the books up. You saw how I covered the book to make it into a book, but what I didn't show you was how we then attach the pages or the signatures using the I've got some elastic in here. So I'll go through it quickly, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this video up, and then I will put another video out on how to make up, how to sort of make the book up and decorate it. So all I've done is in the spine, as I said previously, there's some holes already pre-drilled that Danny's pre-drilled for us in the spine. I don't know if you can see. So there's 3 at the top and 3 at the bottom. And then what you do is you can either make it a feature like what I have done at the back, or you can choose to hide those behind the spine and your paper. Again, that is entirely your choice. So how I did it was I had put my book all together. Let me take out these signatures, then we can see really what I've done. So what I've done is I have taken my spine, I've used my pokey tool, and I've poked the holes through the craft card that I've used to cover my book with. So I've poked all the holes out, and then I've gone ahead and then I've added my layers to cover my book with the decorative paper. Because I wanted to make these a feature, I just kept poking the holes through as I added different layers. So then what you do from there is you start at one end, and so you start, say, up here on the left or the right hand side, whichever you prefer, and you go in to the next hole, and then from here you will go, no, beg your pardon, so you will start at one hole, you will go down, then on the back you would then take it across, okay, and then you would then come down the middle and then take it across, then you would go down, and then you'd take it across, so you end up with your outside looking like that. And then in the middle you're going to end up with 2 pieces of string, which it doesn't matter, and you just use that then as your one spine that you can then add your signatures to. And then all you do is you then just cut out your books that you're going to use, and then you can slot them in. This is really handy if you're doing mixed media, because you can take them out, decorate them, and then put them back in, and you will leave the rest of your book sort of relatively messy free. But you can also use your paper, which is what I'm going to do on some of the others that I'm going to do. So on the front of this one, I've just used some of Lisa's the Daisy Burst dies to create my flowers, and a resin frame, one of the grey board elements in the heart, which I've just covered, and these are my absolute favourite, which are the ticker phrases, and they're just my absolute favourite stamps of all times. And they look so different in different coloured inks. They really do look amazing. And I've also used the butterfly die, and this is just called the butterfly. It's a butterfly edger die, but in with the dies you've got different sizes of butterflies. So I've just used one of the butterflies and I've embossed it with some clear embossing powder to give it an enamelled look. And then on the side on this one, I've just used a lot of seam binding that I had, and I've done my individual elastic pieces individually, so I've ended up with sort of the elastic on the outside, which is what I've then knotted all my seam binding to. It just gives it a nice sort of fluffy finish. And then when you put it in your book, into your bookcase, I don't want to lay it down because the back is still a little bit wet. So when you put them into your bookcase, they're going to look absolutely stunning. They really are, and I've still got one more to do, so they just going to look really stunning, and I'll get another one in there as well. So I absolutely love these, and I'm going to buy a few more from Lisa, because I want to put 3 on top of each other to create sort of a freestanding memory book case, whereas I can put some photographs in and just sort of memory, so that they're sort of on show really. So I'm going to put feet on these, and also I'm going to put a handle on the top as well, so just to finish that off. So once I've finished it off, I'll put some pictures onto Facebook and Instagram, and you'll be able to see, you know, how I finished it. Yes, come and follow me on Facebook. Just type in Tamara Morton Crafts, or just Tamara Morton, and I will come up. I have a page which is Tamara M Crafts, so come and follow me on Facebook on that. The same on Instagram, it's just hashtag Tamara Morton, or Poshcat Crafts, whichever, that will come up as well. I'm also on Pinterest. I love pinning. You know, you've heard of the Pinterest trap, where you go on to look for something and you come out days later because you've got sidetracked. So I'm also on Pinterest. Obviously on YouTube. I would love it if you would subscribe to me. I'm trying to get to 3,000 followers. I'm very nearly there, so I would be really grateful if you could share the backside of this video, so that lots of other people can get to see it. And when I get to 3,000 3,000 followers, I will do another giveaway. Anything else? Yeah, thumbs up, subscribe, and watch for me in the next video. See you soon. Bye.